The team at Technology for Hotels knows how busy you are, so we've created this concise briefing to keep you up to date on key happenings in the hotel industry. Let's dive in.
It's great to be back, and honestly, looking at the news we've got this week, concise is going to be a real challenge. We have a ton of ground to cover.
You aren't kidding. It feels like we're looking at a heat map of the entire industry today. We've got major real estate acquisitions in the Pacific, global heavyweights forging new partnerships.
And then we're going to pivot hard into AI and commercial strategy.
Right.
And, usually when we have stories this diverse, it can feel a little scattered. But if you take a step back, there's actually a fascinating tension running through everything this week.
I love when you find the pattern in the chaos. What's the through line?
It's this tug of war between high tech and high touch.
Right.
On one side, you have this huge push for data, for AI, that's the high tech.
Right.
But on the other, you're seeing this massive focus on community brands, leadership culture, unique experiences. That's the high touch. The industry is really trying to figure out how to scale up without, selling its soul.
That's a great frame. Can you be big and efficient while still feeling small and personal? Let's start with that high-touch side then. Let's talk partnerships. We've got news about Hotel Heron.
Right. So the big news is that Hotel Heron has officially transitioned to the Curio Collection by Hilton.
Okay, so before we dig into the strategy, let's place this on the map. This is a big deal for the region, isn't it?
It is. It's only the second Curio property in the entire DMV area. That's D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. It's a very competitive market, so planting a flag there definitely matters.
But here's my question. Hotel Heron has this very specific, almost indie vibe. When a hotel like that joins a giant like Hilton, the fear is always that it's going to turn, beige.
That is the classic fear. Yeah. But that's exactly why this deal is so interesting. The arrangement is specifically designed to retain Aperium's management.
Aperium being the original operators.
Correct. And they are masters of that distinct, community-focused identity, the neighborhood feel, hyper-local food and beverage. So the strategy is a hybrid. The hotel keeps its local, design-led soul, but it gets to plug into the global Hilton platform.
So, best of both worlds. The cool factor of a boutique, but the distribution power of a behemoth.
Precisely. From an owner's perspective, you want the high rate that comes with a lifestyle product, but you also want the security that comes with the Hilton Honors loyalty engine. Millions of members will now see Hotel Heron pop up on their app.
It's like an indie band signing to a major label, but keeping creative control.
That is a perfect analogy, and we're seeing a very similar strategy playing out down in Melbourne, Australia, with Radisson.
This is the Canterbury International Hotel, Melbourne.
It's just joined Radisson Individuals.
Now, I noticed this is the second Radisson in the city, but it's the first Radisson Individuals in Melbourne. For listeners who get lost in the brand soup, what exactly is Radisson Individuals?
Good question. It's what the industry calls a soft brand.
Break that down for us.
So a hard brand, think a standard Radisson Blu or a Marriott. You walk in, you know what to expect. The layout, the design, even the soap. A soft brand lets a hotel keep its own name, its own unique character, but it connects to the parent company's booking system and loyalty program.
So again, it's distribution without homogenization.
It is. This property is a 74-room hotel backed by Celestial Capital, and they're planning a soft refurbishment, but they're doing it in phases so they can open later this year.
A phased approach seems smart, less disruptive. What does this signal about Radisson's strategy in Australia?
It shows they are aggressively targeting gateway cities. Melbourne is critical. But notice how they're doing it, not by building new cookie-cutter towers, which takes ages, but by finding existing assets with character and bringing them into the fold.
It's a speed-to-market play.
100%. It's a low-friction way to grow your footprint in a really high barrier-to-entry market.
Speaking of spirit and character, we have to talk about Wolgan Valley. I was really hoping we'd get to this story. I remember when it shut down.
This is a huge resurrection story, and frankly, a bit of a relief for the luxury sector in Australia.
It really is. So for anyone who doesn't know, this is a luxury resort in Australia's Greater Blue Mountains. It's stunning, but it had a forced closure in 2023.
Yeah, right. And it wasn't a business failure. It was an access failure. Landslides, road issues. It literally became unsafe to get guests to the property.
Such a tragedy for an iconic location.
Yeah.
But the news is that Emirates has partnered with Marriott. It's reopening as Emirates Wolgan Valley, a Ritz-Carlton Lodge.
A Ritz-Carlton Lodge. That phrasing is very deliberate.
Sounds specific.
And expensive.
It sounds exclusive, and that is absolutely the point. They're aiming for a mid-2026 opening. It's a 40-key, all-inclusive resort.
Wait, only 40 keys. In the hotel world, that's tiny. How do you make the math work on 40 rooms with a brand like Ritz-Carlton?
That's where high touch hits its peak. That low-key count is what justifies the price point. We are probably talking thousands of dollars a night. At that level, guests are paying for hyper-personalization.
So the scarcity is the product.
Exactly. By branding it a Ritz-Carlton Lodge, Marriott is signaling this isn't just a hotel, it's an ultra-luxury destination. It proves that global brands want these unique experiential assets. The modern luxury traveler wants an experience, not just a gold faucet.
Can't wait to see that. All right, let's shift from partnerships to hard assets. We've got some acquisitions that point to a very specific trend in the Pacific.
Yes, this is what I'm calling the backpacker to boutique pipeline.
I love that. Sounds like a makeover show. So what's the evidence? First up, Gaw Capital Partners.
Right. Gaw Capital has acquired a site in Queenstown, New Zealand, adventure capital of the world. And you might know the site. It was formerly Base Backpackers.
So I got hostel, bunk beds, shared bathrooms, the whole deal.
Pretty much. But Gaw isn't building a hostel. They've approved plans for a 69-key boutique hotel.
And then there's a similar story in Sydney at Bondi Beach, which is, that's prime real estate.
Exactly. Millennium Capital Managers just acquired the South Bondi Hotel site for around $60 million, and it's former life.
Noah's Backpackers.
Here you have it. Two major acquisitions, Queenstown and Bondi, both iconic backpacker locations, both being snapped up to be turned into higher-end hotels.
So what's going on? Is the backpacker dead?
I wouldn't say dead, but the real estate economics are definitely shifting. This tells us two things. One, investor interest in Australian and New Zealand hotel real estate is incredibly strong.
Right.
And two, it's a yield play. The market is betting that the yield on a $400 a night boutique room is going to be a lot better than selling 8 bunk beds for $30 a night in that same space.
Plus the demographic itself is changing, right?
Exactly. It's the flashpacker phenomenon. The people who stared at Noah's 10 years ago now have jobs and disposable income. They want to go back to that same cool location, but they want 400 thread count sheets this time.
The backpackers grew up.
Precisely. And the real estate is adapting to meet them.
Now, speaking of adapting, let's talk about Caption by Hyatt. We have a deep dive on this brand, looking at their new Sydney property.
Yes, this is a fascinating brand because it sits in a very interesting middle ground. Caption by Hyatt is positioned as an upscale 4-star brand.
And the source says it's between select service and lifestyle. Can we define those? Lifestyle gets thrown around so much.
Sure. Select service is usually efficient, no frills, think Hyatt Place. Clean room, breakfast, but no bellboy. Lifestyle implies a vibe-cool design, an active bar scene, locals hanging out.
So Caption is trying to be both.
That is the holy grail everyone is chasing. You want the profit margins of select service, but the cool factor and premium rate of lifestyle.
And how are they doing that in Sydney?
It's a 174-room property, and the centerpiece is something they call Talk Shop.
Talk Shop sounds like a conference room.
It's the opposite, actually. It's designed to blur the lines between a lobby, a cafe, a bar, a workspace. The idea is you check in, maybe digitally, and then you just inhabit this space.
So they're removing the friction of the front desk.
Totally. The philosophy is guest-led, host-supported. So instead of staff behind a counter, they're floating, serving coffee, giving directions. They're trying to manufacture that social energy.
I see. And by making it a cool spot for locals, the hotel doesn't feel like an empty, transient space.
Exactly. Now, while Hyatt is building community in its hotels, Marriott is getting recognized for building community internally. This next one is a huge win for them.
It is. They were named one of Fortune's world's most admired companies.
And the rankings are just incredible. Number 1 in hotels, casinos, and resorts, but number 14th overall across all industries. That's up there with Apple.
So why? What makes them so admired? It can't just be nice properties.
No, you don't get on that list for having nice sheets. This award is heavily weighted towards leadership and corporate culture. Marriott is approaching its 100th anniversary.
100 years. Wow.
And over that century, they've maintained this people-first reputation. We're always talking about the labor shortage in hospitality.
It's the biggest headache.
Well, Marriott has high retention rates because they invest in their associates. They're famous for the bellman to CEO stories. It just proves that culture isn't some fluffy HR thing. It's a core strategy.
It really goes back to that high-touch theme we started with.
It absolutely does.
Now, speaking of people, it's time for our Stars in Motion segment. We've got quite a few big moves this week.
A very busy week for appointments. Let's run through them.
First up, Monique Jeffrey. She's been appointed as Director of Mainstay Suites for Choice Hotels Asia Pac.
That's a key role. Mainstay is their extended stay brand, which is a really robust segment. She has a big job growing that footprint.
Indeed. Next, Richaya Termsilkanak has a new position as VP of Revenue and Digital Strategy at Sono Hotels and Resorts, APAC.
I love that job title, Revenue and Digital Strategy.
It sounds like two jobs.
It used to be, but now you can't separate them. They're the same ecosystem. We'll actually touch on that in a minute.
Okay. On the HR side, Mohammed Musa is the new Director of Human Resources at Hurghada Marriott Beach Resort.
Good to see, especially after what we just discussed about Marriott's culture. That's where it happens on the ground.
Then we have Nicole Downs, taking the reins as Managing Director at Ovolo Hotels Australia.
Ovolo is such a dynamic, quirky brand. That will be a very fun role to watch.
And finally, Robert Hannigan has been appointed General Manager at the Beckworth.
A really solid list of professionals stepping into some very influential roles. So congratulations to all of them.
Yes, congrats to everyone. Now, you just mentioned that intersection of revenue and digital. That brings us to our final topic, the tech focus.
The high-tech side of our theme. This comes from an insight by Snowflake at the AHLA Hospitality Show. And it really hammers home a problem we all know exists, data silos.
Okay, data silos. It's a buzzword. Break down what it actually means for a hotelier. We have mountains of data, right?
Mountains. But your property management system knows I stayed for 3 nights. Your bar's point-of-sale system knows someone bought a martini, but maybe not that it was me. Your email system knows I opened a newsletter 6 months ago.
But none of those systems are talking to each other.
Exactly, they're siloed. So Snowflake's argument is that because of this, hotels are operating on intuition rather than intelligence.
Intuition-based decisions. A polite way of saying guessing.
It kind of is. You're guessing what the guest wants. The solution is to unify all that data into one place, one lake, so you can actually use it.
And what does using it look like? Is it more than just a happy birthday email?
Oh, way beyond that. It's about the shift from reacting to demand to actually predicting and shaping it.
Give me an example. How does this change my Tuesday morning revenue meeting?
Okay, imagine using real-time signals, not just your own past bookings. You pull in flight data, weather patterns, local events.
Right.
So if your system sees that flight searches to your city from New York have spiked 300% for a weekend in October, but your own bookings haven't moved yet.
I know demand is coming before it even hits my front desk.
Exactly. So you adjust pricing and staffing now, you shape the demand, you yield up before the first booking is even made. It's proactive versus reactive.
So here's the big question. If the tech exists, and Snowflake is saying it does, why isn't everyone doing this?
And that is the aha moment from the source. The barrier isn't technical. The software works. The barrier is cultural.
Cultural? You mean we're just too stubborn to change?
In a way. The report says many leadership teams still see AI as just a tool for the IT department. They haven't truly embraced data-driven thinking at a strategic level.
So they've bought the Ferrari, but they're driving it like a golf cart.
That is a perfect analogy. The key is to view AI as an augmentation of human expertise. It's not about replacing your revenue manager. It's about giving them superpowers.
Superpowers. I like that.
Yeah.
So the future isn't about collecting more data. It's about connecting what we already have.
Correct. And that brings us full circle, back to high tech and high touch. You need the high tech to process the data so your team has the time and information to provide that high touch experience.
Well, this has been a whirlwind tour. Let's do a quick recap.
We saw independent character meeting global power with Curio and Radisson Individuals. We saw the backpacker to boutique trend chasing higher yields from a maturing demographic in Australia.
We looked at how culture is a hard asset, from Marriott's global ranking to Hyatt's community-focused Caption brand. And finally, the absolute necessity of breaking down data silos to move from guessing to predicting.
A powerful mix of stories.
It really is. And before we go, we want to leave you with one final thought on that tech segment.
We talked about how the technology for prediction already exists. So here's the question. If the tools are sitting there waiting for you, is your organization's culture the only thing standing in the way? Are you resisting the data just because it contradicts your intuition?
A tough question, but one worth asking. On that note, that wraps up this week's 5-Star Weekly Briefing.